Thank you very much for that warm Texas welcome. It is indeed a great pleasure to be in Austin. It's always a great pleasure to visit Texas. I've been here on several occasions. Last time, 3 years ago, I did a wild mountain bike ride at Crawford with the then President Bush. It's always a pleasure to visit the United States. I am born and raised in Denmark in a family that highly values the United States and what this great country stands for. We all know that there are strong political bonds between Europe and the United States. There are strong economic ties. But I think there is a bond that is even stronger. And that's the personal bond between people and families on both sides of the Atlantic. And we shouldn't underestimate the strength of these personal bonds. Let me just illustrate that strength by telling you a little story about two young people who grew up on both sides of the Atlantic. The American girl, Christina, who grew up in the state of Minnesota. When she was 12, in her geography class, her teacher asked the students to write essays on different countries across the world, and to make the whole exercise a bit more exciting, he would not allow the students to pick and choose the countries themselves, so he organized a kind of a lottery. In a hat he put small paper notes with specific country names, and asked the students to pick up these paper notes and pick up names of specific countries. And this girl, Christina, she picked up Denmark, my home country. And she started to study Denmark, and she got very interested in everything about Denmark. Later, she went to college in Virginia at the Randolph-Macon Women's College in Virginia, and she brought with her her strong interest in everything about Denmark. On the other side, thousands of miles away from Minnesota, a Danish boy, Henrik, our son, grew up very interested in everything about Denmark. As a son of a Danish politician, he often felt a bit challenged, and he dreamt about the United States. And one day, after having served in the Danish military, he declared in the best American Western style, "Dad, this town is too small for the two of us." So he left Denmark, went to Hampton-Sydney College in Virginia, by the way, neighboring the Women's College. One day I was invited in my capacity as Danish Prime Minister to address the students at Hampton-Sydney College, where our son Henrik enjoyed his life. I addressed the students, and Christina saw the announcement that the Danish Prime Minister was going to address the students at Hampton-Sydney College, and as she was very interested in everything about Denmark, she decided to go to Hampton-Sydney College to listen to the Danish Prime Minister. She was seated next to Henrik. She didn't know Henrik, even less that he was the son of the Danish Prime Minister. I don't know how much the young couple remember from the Prime Minister's speech. But eventually they got engaged. Later, they got married. Henrik became Danish citizen. They have settled here in the United States. And in January, they got twins. So, my wife and I are now the proud grandparents of two lovely American citizens. So you can understand that for me, the transatlantic bond is something very strong, personal. And I am particularly pleased to be able to speak here at the library dedicated to Lyndon B. Johnson, who did so much to strengthen liberty, democracy, and justice in this great nation. When he extended the right to vote to millions of Americans, Lyndon B. Johnson followed in the tradition of many great Americans who had gone before him. From the founding fathers who pioneered the Declaration of Independence and the Bill of Rights, to Woodrow Wilson with his vision for a peaceful international order. And from Franklin Roosevelt, who understood that the liberty of the few at the expense of the many was never a solid basis for a nation to prosper. To Martin Luther King, who fought for the freedom of all Americans, regardless of their race. So it's a great honor for me, not only to be here, but to be able to talk to you. And I would like to focus my remarks on three things. First, the fundamental desire to be free. Second, NATO's role in safeguarding our freedom. And third, why the United States and Europe must work together to carry forward the flame of freedom. So let me first talk about freedom. Just over a week ago, President Obama informed the American people about the successful operation against Osama bin Laden. The evil vision of bin Laden was diametrically opposed to the values of the United States and its NATO allies. An evil vision whose bankruptcy is becoming increasingly clear. 2 days ago, I had the great honor to take part in the commemoration of Victory in Europe Day at the National World War II Memorial in Washington. It was a moving ceremony which brought home that we have encountered evil visions before, not that long ago, evil visions which ultimately did not withstand the flame of freedom. In the Second World War, the flame of freedom prevailed over fascism and tyranny. And soon after the conflict, we were successful in turning former adversaries into responsible democracies with the help of organizations like the United Nations, the European Union, and NATO. NATO was successful again in standing up to communist dictatorship. The alliance first prevented the Cold War from getting hot. It then extended the hand of partnership and cooperation to its former Cold War rivals. And many of those countries are now not only thriving democracies, but also members of NATO, making their contribution to our common security. In the past few months, we have also seen people across North Africa and the Middle East defeat fear, and embrace freedom. It has been a powerful reminder that the fundamental desire to be free resides in all of us. Freedom is not just a Western value. It is a universal value. It's not a commodity for the few, but one that is valuable only if it is shared by the many. And there is no choice between security and freedom. The only possibility is to embrace both. And this brings me to my second point, NATO's role in safeguarding our freedom. In our NATO alliance, nearly 1 billion people share not only the same values of freedom, democracy, and humanity, they also share the capabilities to safeguard those values. And that is important because values without real commitment can quickly become hot air. And capability without shared values will lack vision and purpose. Our engagement in Afghanistan clearly demonstrates NATO's determination and ability to safeguard our values. Under the clear United Nations mandate, we are protecting our security by helping the Afghans to take responsibility for theirs. The United States plays a key role, but the United States is not alone. Over 40,000 troops from allied and partner nations are fighting shoulder to shoulder with American forces. Over the course of the past year, we have taken the fight to the Taliban. We are training and educating ever more Afghan soldiers and policemen. And the Afghan security forces are playing an increasingly important role in combat operations and in solidifying the security gains. The Taliban attack in Kandahar a few days ago was planned as a spectacular assault, but it wound up being a spectacular failure. Not least because of the contribution of the Afghan forces, which are becoming increasingly capable to provide security for their own country. We have now entered a new and significant phase in our Afghanistan mission as we gradually transition lead security responsibility to the Afghans themselves. The transition process is on track. Together with our Afghan partners, we aim to complete it by 2014. But we remain committed to supporting Afghanistan well beyond through an enduring partnership. Our engagement in Afghanistan demonstrates the importance of Europeans, Canadians, and Americans working together for success. We are well aware that a secure and stable Afghanistan means a safer world for all of us. We will continue our mission to ensure that Afghanistan does not return to being a sanctuary for terrorists and extremists. We have the right strategy, the right resources, and we have the resolve to see this through. Finally, my third point, why America and Europe must continue to work together to carry forward the flame of freedom. Brave people throughout the Arab world have cried out for the freedom that America and Europe have enjoyed for many decades, thanks to NATO. Change is taking hold in many places in North Africa and the Middle East. But Libya is an exception. Colonel Gaddafi and his regime are brutally repressing their people who have expressed the desire for freedom. In March, NATO allies took command of all military operations in Libya to protect civilians against Colonel Gaddafi's relentless attacks, acting with the authority of an historic UN Security Council resolution. Gaddafi may remain defiant, but for his regime, time is up. We are flying 1,000 sorties per week and steadily degrading his war machine. His strategy to retake the country by force has failed, and his international isolation is growing by the day. Just like Afghanistan, Libya is a strong demonstration of NATO's resolve. But it is also another demonstration that solidarity in NATO is a real two-way street. Over 7,000 troops, more than 200 aircraft, and 20 ships are engaged in our Operation Unified Protector. All those 20 ships are contributed by Canada and European allies, and a majority of the aircraft come from allies and NATO partners, including from the region. Ladies and gentlemen, in 2012, President Obama will host the next NATO summit here in the United States. It will be a great opportunity for all 28 NATO allies to reaffirm their commitment to protecting each other's security and common values. President Kennedy once remarked that the cost of freedom is always high, but Americans have always paid it. NATO allies owe a great debt of gratitude to America for being prepared to pay this cost. I hope today I have reassured you that we neither want nor expect the United States to walk this path alone. There is a strong understanding throughout the NATO alliance of the fundamental need to share this burden with the United States. And we all know that the cost of freedom is worth paying. Thank you very much.